All right, Ryan Spelts here, and this is something that I've been thinking about doing for quite some time, and that is going live and talking about marketing. I own a marketing company in northern Utah called Connection Media Company, and we interact with a lot of local small businesses. We started off with a magazine company, and we eventually grew into a full-scale digital marketing agency. And it's interesting because I hear a lot of questions from small business owners. Some of our clients could be anywhere from an individual that has a pest control company all the way up to large companies that do millions of dollars in sales each year. And so they often have questions about how to get the word out about their business, how to get more people to pay attention to them, how to get more higher closing percentage, how to get more leads. All of those things are important when you run a business. And so I'm going to talk about some of those questions that come in all the time about marketing. The first thing I want to talk about is the hierarchy of marketing needs, because a lot of times I'll have someone say to me, "Hey, Ryan, how about what if I did some email marketing, or what if I did some social media paid ads, or what if I did SEO?" And a lot of times when I interact with them, I say, "Okay, paid ads are great, but you should start with some things first." And so here's some of the things that any small business should do before they worry about paying for advertising. First is your Google business profile. Make sure it's filled out, make sure it's optimized, talks about your business in a good way. Get reviews, respond to those reviews, be active on your Google business profile. You don't need to update it like it's social media, but you do need to be active on there and respond. And especially to the negative reviews, respond to the next person who's going to see that. Second thing, make sure you have a website. Get the basics. Make sure it's set up to be a sales style website, that it takes people down a path and takes them to the end. You can go to my blog on connectionmediaco.com, and there's an article about the 10 ways, or the 10-minute website fix. It's just a quick way to make sure your website's set up well so that people will actually tune in and buy from you. The third is local SEO. That's your Maps listing. So Maps local SEO comes from doing things like setting up other listing sites like Yelp and local things like that. So if you set up other listing sites, that'll add to your Google profile. Your Facebook profile will add to your Google profile. It'll help your local rankings go up. Getting more reviews will help your local rankings going up. Making sure your settings are all correct inside your Google business profile. That's important as well. Then the next step is a social media. Set up your social media. Those count as local listings when the computer that's behind Google's looking to see if someone's legitimate or not, or if they should move up in SEO rankings. They're looking at other listings, like what's on Facebook, and do you have an Instagram? Do people interact with you there? So utilize the tools that are there, that are free, that are easy. Post something fairly regularly. If you're not ready to hire someone to do social media and you're not really big into it, at least post before and afters if you're in that type of work, or post what you're up to. I think Gary Vee always says, document, don't create. Don't try to go create something amazing at first. Just document what you're doing. If you're starting a new business, I was talking to a friend on Wednesday, 2 days ago. He is going out on his own. He's a massage therapist. He's had his own business, but he's also been thinking about and been working on his own clients, and he's ready to go on his own. And I said, you're looking for office space so you can have your massage therapy studio. Document that process. When you pick a place, go in and show it, put it on social media, talk about it. Just create something and put it out there. The next piece for me is email. Somehow you've got to gather and collect information of people that are potential customers so that they will become clients of yours in the long run. And so, grabbing somebody's email, building an email list, and then staying in communication with them. And yes, there's a lot of noise in email, but it's still one of the best. I just read an article by Neil Patel. He says still one of the highest return on investments is email. So gather people's email and communicate with them in the long run. Then it's okay to start looking at paid advertising. Once you've done those 5 things, right? You've got everything set up on the basics. Now we can look at paid advertising, and there's lots of options there. I'm happy to answer questions on paid sources as well, like what's better for your business. It's not always the basics, right? Sometimes people are like, well, I have to have Google ads. I have to be on Google. And sometimes Google's too competitive. Sometimes it's better to go to social media or vice versa. So it's really about finding the right path for you and what would work best for you. So let's talk about some of the questions. We just talked about email, and a question that I got one time was, where do you draw the line between spamming and sending customers news and promotions? Really, the difference is probably the content, right? How well put together your content is. If your content is, very monotonous and not very exciting or entertaining, people aren't going to tune into it, and so you're going to have content that people don't find to be, interesting. Then they're going to view it more like spam, and they're going to unsubscribe. We talked to one of our clients that we do an email newsletter for, and they have done, I think, 4 newsletters that we've put together for them and helped them create and send out to their list. And he said, every time we've sent this newsletter, people have called in or come in and booked an appointment and purchased from it. So their content is very brand specific, very focused on what their clientele are looking for. I always say, understand who your who is, your ideal customer, your target audience, because if you do, then you can target everything you do towards that person and communicate with them about things that they're interested in. And so I recommend finding your who first and then saying, okay, what would they be interested in? If I'm going to send out a newsletter, don't just say company news, but talk about the things that are valuable to them. To some people, they might say, I don't care about that stuff, and they'll untune in, and that's okay. You want to talk to the people who care. Seth Godin always says, do things that matter for people who care. So if the people who unsubscribe, that's okay. They don't care as much as you do about your thing. And so that's probably worthwhile letting them go. So, all right, another question that I have received is, people often say to me, you have to spend a ton on marketing to be successful as a business. And I actually think that's a false rumor. I actually just heard about a business that was doing $3 million a year and has never spent a dime on advertising. They are out in the market, they're doing work, they're talking and communicating with other businesses, they're getting business, they're landing that business, they're not spending money on marketing. Every business is a little different, but you do have to spend time cultivating who your client is and figuring out how to talk to them, right? Sometimes you're trying, another question I heard one time was, how do I get into the Department of Defense? And I was like, I don't know. You're going to have to network. You're going to have to get to meet people. You probably can't run an ad in the newspaper or do it on Facebook and get into the Department of Defense, right? You're going to have to find a way to get into places that are really unique like that. So the most important, I would say, is finding who your who is and then where they hang out. And if you can find out where they hang out and go to them there, that's great. Now, you can spend a good amount of money and to develop a long-term brand. If you look at the biggest consumer brands like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Oreo, Nabisco, any of the big brands, Starbucks, Apple, Google, Facebook, they all spend money on marketing. They're on TV, they're in magazines, they're on their own platforms or on social media. I think it's interesting. If you go on Instagram, sometimes you'll see ads for Pinterest or vice versa. And so you got to realize, like, they know they have to stay on top of mind. And so whatever advertising budget you pick something that you can get a good bang for the buck out of, and then do it for a really long time. Stick with that source for a really long time, and then add to it as things go. And you might have to adjust and try different things to get the best results in the long run. But really, marketing is a long-term goal, a long-term plan. And so you have to spend time finding places where your people hang out and where they're going to be spending their time so that you can talk to them in their language and tell them what they want. As far as a marketing budget goes, I always say think longer term. It's better to do something for a lot of months than it is to do something big. So if you have, let's say you have $10,000 in a year that you want to spend, is it better to save up that $10,000 and just spend it all in 1 month? No, it's better to spend $1,000 a month for 10 months than it is to spend it all at once and do some big event or big thing. So, the confidence comes from understanding, okay, this is a long-term investment that I've got to make, and I've got to do it for the long term. And so, keep that in mind. A lot of questions come in around social media. And I think you can look at social media in a couple different ways. If you're a local company that serves people in a local market, social media is a great way. It's free, basically. You can get on there, you can post, you can talk about what you do, you can tell people about your benefits and why they should do business with you for free. Um, if you do it in an entertaining way, you'll get more views, right? More people will pay attention. But if you're, a cleaner or a baker or an accountant in a region, let's say you're in northern Utah, where I live, and you get a ton of viewers and people from all over the world that like your content, unless you can do business with them across borders, it's really going to be unbeneficial to you to have that big social media following. However, when someone looks you up and they go in and they see, oh yeah, they're active, they're answering questions, they're online, they have a social media profile, they have a Google profile, you're going to do much better in your local market. People do a lot of research. They look into companies. The younger generation now is looking, 90 some percent of them look on your social media profile just to see that you're legit. There's so much scam and stuff happening right now that social media, Google, all of those things back up that you're legitimate, that you're good, that they could trust you to do business with you. You have to go long term. We've had an interesting experience. My son and I do a podcast where we talk about our, we talk about our business together. We talk about what we do. We talk about leadership, sales, marketing, all of those different things. Is really fun. And most of our videos, we're getting between 10 and maybe 100 views in any given video. Some of our shorts were getting 600-700 views, and but none of our long form videos were getting very many views. And we were doing it for just to spend time with each other. We talk business all the time, and so we weren't overly worried. Oh, we're getting a ton of followers from this. But what's interesting is that about a month and a half ago, we decided we were going to go hit golf balls and do our podcast from the golf range. And not that this is a ton of views, but that video has generated like 2,500 views or something. The two of us talking about business while we're hitting balls at the range. Now, I live in northern Utah. It's gorgeous here. The mountains in the background. The sky was crystal clear blue. It was really beautiful that day. It was hot. We were sweating, but it was really fun. And honestly, we were kind of like more worried about hitting the ball and like critiquing our own games than we were about how, even business or how viral this video was going to go. But interestingly enough, that video has generated more views than anything else. And it was probably the backdrop and all of those things, but it was interesting. So you don't know what's going to work, what's going to get more attention. I've landed jobs off videos that had 20 or 30 views because someone saw it and it spoke to them. So I wouldn't worry so much in a local business about how viral you're going, unless your business is to go and become an influencer, right? A social media influencer. Don't stress so much about how viral you're going. Worry more about speaking to people who care about things that matter. And so speaking to your audience, it will grow, it will develop as you do it, as you're consistent with it. It'll get you more and more energy that way. That's my opinion on how to best to grow your social media. There are better people in this. My followings on social media aren't anything amazing, but it's something that I think as you do, you will see benefit from it. And I've seen that in others as they start to interact more and spend time generating an audience and talking to people. My Facebook following is my largest following, and I get the most interactions there. But I also like to spend time on TikTok. That's one of my favorite apps to use. And there's mixed reviews on what TikTok does. But it's interesting because I have a lot less followers on TikTok. So obviously I haven't found my audience yet. So just keep finding a way to talk to people and to see what happens. So a couple of other things that come up pretty consistently are things like, where should I spend my money? How much budget should I spend? Well, your budget is really personal and it's different for every business. I will say that most aggressive businesses that are going to spend some money on marketing will spend about 8 to 12%. Most of them right around 10% of your overall revenue. So if you're doing $10,000 a month, spending 10% of whatever that revenue is, but if your margins are more slim, you might have to spend less. If your margins are bigger, you could spend more as long as it's translating into more business. Attracting customers comes down to finding your who and talking to them about why what you do matters. and that can have a big impact on it. So, what marketing strategies are most cost effective? Well, that's kind of a unique, unique to each business as well. I work with a roofer, and they're out of state, and they came through a referral, and I'm happy to work with them. They had been spending a lot of money on Google and advertising on Google, and I dug into it, and I was like, man, there are a ton of competitors, roofers in your area, and they're all spending money on Google, and it's driven the cost up, and you have a significantly higher cost to get leads off of Google than you would in other locations or other places that we could advertise. And they had a hard time with it at first, but I was like, there are ways to advertise that aren't on Google. We can still do SEO, still drive your organic reach up, but we can do other things that will actually drive more leads to you than what we've done on Google up to this point. And so there's other options. So you just need to try things out, look at it, do research, have a marketing company research for you and tell you where the biggest opportunity lies. Sometimes there's, big holes where people aren't advertising on Google, and there's a big opportunity to land a business. So finding out what's most cost effective actually depends on your business, and making sure you have a good approach. And what I mean by that is if you have if you're trying to generate just local leads, you got to have a good creative, a good ad. But if you're trying to generate people, get them on your list, you're going to need some kind of a lead magnet, getting people to raise their hand and say, okay, I want to hear from you. I want more information. It's tricky to do. So that's one thing that you can work on, is developing a lead magnet. So a lead magnet is like a giveaway, something that you could give someone for free. So we were working on a project. I've got a partner that we do business together. He does coaching for contractors, and those contractors have specific needs that they need to learn about running business. They're really good at building stuff and making stuff new. And he was like, well, I need someone to teach marketing, because he's like, I know the basics of marketing, but I'm not a marketing expert. And so we've been working together, and we've been running a couple seminars, and it's been really good. And one of the decisions that we made is that we needed to create some lead magnets. And so some of the ideas that we came up with were create a marketing toolkit that we could give for free to clients, right? To potential clients, and say, hey, come in, you get this toolkit for free, give us your email, give us your phone number. And then when we have an opportunity to run a workshop, then we can reach out to them and say, hey, you should come to our workshop. We're doing it on this weekend or whatever. I created this little playbook, a marketing playbook. I use it as a lead tool. So I give it for free on my website, and people can grab it. In this, we give lots of examples. I teach lessons on marketing. What's the most powerful word in marketing? Content marketing and how valuable it is. It's things that I've learned over a career in sales and marketing, branding, how it matters, and what should you advertise. That's kind of a funny ad that we did one time that is, a troll or a gnome with his bum hanging out, and he's wearing this belt, and it says, does this belt make my butt look big? And it was funny, that ad alone, because it was cute and creative and funny. They sold out of that product in their store, called their supplier, got everything that they had, sold all of those out. And then supplier was like, we don't have any more. Sorry, we're sold out. And so people were still asking for them. But developing good lead magnets is really powerful if you can have something that you can give away to people to get their information, and then continue to communicate with them, whether it's through an email list or texting, or even just setting them up for an appointment and saying, hey, let's talk. I'd love to hear about how we can help you. Another lead magnet idea we came up with was a free estimating or pricing guide. Contractors, as you can imagine, estimating can be time consuming, trying to get everything right. You don't want to lose money on a job. And so we have talked about developing a pricing guide that we could give for free so that they would give us their information. Number 3 is a project management checklist, just making sure that their quality controls in place and that all of their pieces of each project so that they can do this. I actually helped a client who had a cleaning company, has a cleaning company still, they actually clean our house, but we developed a checklist for their cleaners because, as you can imagine, cleaning a house, you get busy and you're trying to do it quickly so that you stay on task. You might forget some things. And so they had this master checklist, and depending on if someone was getting a weekly cleaning or a deep cleaning, they had different lists. And so they could go through and check mark those. Well, if you're a business that's served that kind of a customer, you could give them that kind of a checklist, something that would help them perform their job better and make sure their quality control is in place and they, get better reviews. Another tool that we talked about is developing a secret weapon for getting referrals. And there's a couple of cool things that we've done that I think were really powerful referral tools. Every time I talk to a business owner, they say the same thing. They say that referrals are their best source of business, that they love referrals the best. They always want referrals. And I'm like, that's awesome. How can we get more referrals then? And so there's a couple of ways to do this. And one of those ways is to make sure that your service is above everybody else's, right? If you just astound people with your service and your follow through and you make sure people are happy, you're going to get more referrals just by doing that one piece. But there's also a proactive approach to getting referrals. So my son and I, we've been working on one that we're still fiddling with, trying to figure it out. But we gave him a stack of $5 bills, and we've since upgraded that to $10 bills. And when he gets to the end of an appointment, he can say to the customer, he has a RoofMax dealership, and so we have talked about having him get more referrals, because referrals are a great source for us in the RoofMax business. And we do a free roof inspection. So we'll come out to someone's home, climb up on their roof, check their shingles, just make sure everything looks good there. And so we started having him say, hey, if you'll text your friends and see if they're interested in getting a free roof inspection. For everybody you text, here's what you could say. We typed out what they could, recommendation that they could say. Here's what you can say in the text. If you'll send this to somebody, for everybody you send it to, whether they say yes or no, I don't care, I'm going to give you $5. We're going to try it with $10 and see if it goes even better. Because people will say, sure, I'll text my 3 or 4 best friends and say, hey, I had this guy come over, do RoofMax. We really liked it, but he's doing free roof inspections for our friends. Would you be interested in a roof inspection? Yes or no doesn't matter. I spend hundreds of dollars on a lead, even a potential lead on Facebook and Google and different sources. So that $5 is really a good buy for me, right? So, or for our business. So that's something that you could look at, developing great referral sources and then teaching your potential client, if you serve business clients, how to do that. We just completed one of our signature products. It's really cool. It's called a strategic marketing plan. It's a big project we do. It takes my team about 30 to 40 days of research and deep diving and creative meetings where we talk about best ways for this business, for the business that we're helping to accomplish their goals of growth and to, marketing and sales and customer service and all those things. So we spend that entire time researching and figuring out how best and giving recommendations to them so that they know best how to accomplish those goals. Well, that project, when we deliver it, it always blows our clients away. And when we just finished, they had several who's. I always talk about who's, right? Your ideal target audience. It had several who's, 3 that I can think of right off the bat. One was, coaches and sports teams. The other was school administrators. And then the other was business executives that want to recognize their teammates. And I don't want to reveal all of their stuff because they paid for this research that we did. But one of the things that we came up with was that they needed to create a lead magnet, something they could give away to each of these groups, right? Something valuable that they could say, okay, here is something for coaches that we can give you so that we can have your information. And then when you're ready for our services, we'll be here for you. And then they're engaged with them. They'll have an email list or whatever. So think of something that you could, a specialty of yours that speaks directly to your clients. For me, this marketing playbook works great. And the reason it does, I've actually had several iterations of it because I started, the first one was smaller, but I wanted to help clients in our magazines do better ads in their magazine ads. Then I started adding it a little bit more, like some of the other things you could do in marketing. And then eventually we created this one. And then the most recent one, which I don't have a printout of, but it's called the Get Attention, marketing, small business marketing book. And I added in a ton more stuff, a lot more digital marketing stuff, a lot more things to be able to capture people's attention, building a brand, creating a marketing plan, and then themes month by month that people could use in their business to talk about what they do and why they do it. So that's been a valuable tool that I've used to generate leads. And then it also gives me things to talk about when somebody, because I've researched these things now and I have them in my head, and so I can talk about those things to people when they come across it. So I recommend creating some sort of a lead magnet that you can use to bring people in. You'll also see free giveaways, and you'll see those free giveaways that are hey, get a free whatever for doing this, get a free Amazon gift card. Utilize, those companies are utilizing this concept, this lead magnet concept that's like, hey, give something that grabs somebody's attention. They're like, oh, I want free, radio stations use it. I want free concert tickets, or I want to get the free Amazon gift card for, calling in or getting an appointment. So utilize the tools that you have, get somebody's attention somehow, some way, bring them in so you have the opportunity to do business with them, is the whole goal of what you're doing there. So those are some of the main questions that I come across. If you think about your website, the key with your website, when people show up, most businesses, they start with themselves. Start with your customer first. Start with who you serve and why you should matter to them, and then lead them down a path and show them, they're the hero. If you read the book by Donald Miller, it's called the Building Your Story Brand. He talks about the hero structure. The hero structure is the hero of your business is actually your customer. It's not you. You're the guide. You're like the genie. The hero has a problem and they come across this problem. They need to solve it, or a pain point or a desire. Well, the genie helps that customer. They help that business serve that customer, right? Or the business is the genie. So, and then of course you have your solution, which is what you do to overcome that pain point. So if your website's structured and it's just a brag fest about you, you won't have as many people impacting or being impacted by your website. Have lots of contact information. One of the things that we found on all the websites that we're doing right now is adding a chat bot. Most people will opt for that. And we're developing tools that are AI based that can answer some simple questions right off the bat, but we can also make it live so that the business can interact with customers. Customers like the idea that they might be able to get a hold of you in that moment and say, hey, I need this, or I'm interested in this. How does this work? And they don't want to call you anymore. We don't like calling as a society anymore. So it's good to have those options for people that they can go in and just simply put their information in and communicate with you in a non-committal way, and then always shut off the website, right? If they don't want to talk to you anymore, so they're not pressured into doing business with you. And so you want to find ways to communicate that get the point across, but also capture the information so that you can communicate with them long-term. Sometimes people aren't ready, and you'll have sales come about later, especially if you keep on top of mind with people. You don't want to pester them, but you do want to stay at the front of mind. So anyway, those are some of the questions I come across pretty consistently. And I'd love to hear from you. You can reach out through our website, connectionmediaco.com, and or ryanspelts.com is my personal website. And I'd love to hear them. I love answering marketing questions. I'm going to try and do this at least once a week so I can come on and answer questions that I get. I get them pretty consistently. It's interesting. Hey, what do I do about this? So if you have a question that you come across in marketing, let me know, and I might cover it in one of my videos. So anyway, hopefully your business is thriving and doing well and growing. And thanks for tuning in.